The second an officer says, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Most drivers fall into a trap. And here's what happens. You answer, and within seconds, you've just surrendered your most powerful protection during that stop. Tactical analysis of 300 traffic stop recordings reveals the exact pattern. Officers ask for consent specifically when they lack probable cause to search legally. They're trained to exploit your psychology, your instinct to cooperate, your fear of looking guilty. Once you say yes, everything changes. The scope of that consent can extend everywhere. Every compartment, every container. Your vehicle becomes fair game for an 18-minute search, and you authorized every second of it. I'm going to show you 4 phrases that end consent searches in seconds. Not requests, not suggestions. These are tactical countermoves that force officers to either back off immediately or reveal they never had legal authority to search in the first place. Master these 4 phrases and you control the encounter. This is tactical education only. For specific legal guidance, consult a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. Phrase 1 stops consent, searches cold. 5 words. I do not consent to searches, but most drivers never deploy it because they don't understand the tactical battlefield they're on. Here's the real situation. The officer hands you your license back. Traffic stop should be over, the mission is complete, but he doesn't let you leave. Instead, he pivots. Hey, you got anything illegal in the vehicle? Any weapons? You say no, of course. Then comes the setup, the trap. Well, you don't mind if I take a look then, do you? That phrasing is surgical. It's designed to make refusal feel suspicious, and in that precise moment, 70% of drivers say yes. Why does this tactic work on you? Because you're conditioned from childhood to cooperate with authority. You think saying no makes you look guilty. You believe refusing will only make things worse. Maybe he'll call for backup. Maybe he'll get a warrant. Maybe he'll find some reason to arrest you. And officers are explicitly trained to exploit that psychological pressure. Field reality is absolutely brutal. The second you consent, the scope of that search can extend to every container, every bag, every compartment in your vehicle. Closed console, they can open it. Backpack in the rear seat, fair game. Trunk, authorized. Under the seats, authorized. Body camera footage shows officers spend an average of 18 minutes searching vehicles once consent is given. 18 minutes of methodically tearing through your property, opening every zipper, checking every pocket, and you authorized every single second of it by saying yes. Officer training manuals are explicit about this tactic. They teach officers to ask for consent in situations when they specifically lack probable cause to search. It's a workaround, a shortcut. They don't have enough evidence to search legally, so they get you to waive your Fourth Amendment rights voluntarily. Your countermove is this. You need to say it exactly like this. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. That's it. 5 words. Don't explain why. Don't justify your decision. Don't add qualifiers like, because I have nothing to hide, or I'm just in a hurry, or I know my rights. Those additions weaken your tactical position. They give officers openings to keep pressing. Just state it calmly and clearly. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Here's the strategic advantage this phrase gives you. Those words remove consent as a legal justification for the search. If they search your vehicle anyway without consent, your attorney can file a motion to suppress any evidence they find. That evidence becomes inadmissible. But if you consent, even reluctantly, even under pressure, that evidence is admissible in court. Your consent makes it legal. Never consent to searches. Say that phrase 3 times right now. Never consent to searches. Never consent to searches. Never consent to searches. That countermove neutralizes their consent request, but refusing consent only protects you from voluntary searches. What happens when they try a different approach? Most drivers think saying, I don't consent, ends the encounter. Wrong. Officers have backup tactics trained specifically for drivers who refuse. The most common, they extend the stop. They keep you detained. Keep asking questions. Keep fishing for probable cause. That's where phrase 2 becomes your time-based weapon against prolonged detention. You deployed consent refusal, but officers have a backup tactic they use specifically when drivers say no. They extend the stop. They keep you detained longer, hoping you'll change your mind, hoping they'll develop probable cause while you're standing there. That's where phrase 2 saves you. Am I free to leave? This is your time-based weapon under Rodriguez versus United States, decided by the Supreme Court in 2015. Police cannot extend a traffic stop beyond the time reasonably necessary to complete the stop's mission, and that mission is specific: writing the ticket, checking your license for warrants, checking your registration and insurance, related safety concerns. Once that mission is complete, they must let you go. Period. Unless they have reasonable suspicion of another crime, they cannot legally detain you to wait for a drug dog, to ask more unrelated questions, to pressure you into changing your mind about consent. But here's what officers know that you don't. Most drivers have no idea when the traffic stop should legally end, so they just keep talking, answering questions, standing there, and officers exploit that ignorance. They keep asking questions. They keep creating reasons to keep you there. Here's exactly what goes down. Officer hands you the warning. The traffic stop's mission is complete. He should let you go. Instead, he says, "So where are you headed today?" Casual, friendly even. You answer because it seems harmless. Now he's got you in conversation. "Where are you coming from? What do you do for work?" 5 minutes pass. 10 minutes. He's not writing anything. He's not checking anything. He's fishing, waiting for you to slip up, waiting for backup to arrive, waiting for a K-9 unit. Your countermove forces him to commit to a decision. Look at the officer directly and ask, "Officer, am I free to leave?" This is a yes or no question. He cannot dodge it. He must answer. If he says yes, you leave immediately. Get in your vehicle and drive away. Do not continue the conversation. Do not answer another question. Do not stick around. Leave. If he says no, you're being detained. At that point, you have a follow-up. What is the lawful basis for my continued detention? He must articulate reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, specific and articulable facts. If he can't provide that, your attorney has clear grounds to challenge the detention later. The tactical advantage is in the timing. Rodriguez made crystal clear that even 7 minutes of unlawful detention violates the Fourth Amendment. Even brief delays matter, so the precise moment that traffic paperwork is complete, you deploy this phrase. Body camera analysis shows officers frequently have no legal reason to keep you there. They're just fishing. And when you ask directly if you're free to leave, they face a binary choice: let you go or admit they're detaining you without legal justification. Once the stop's mission is complete, ask if you're free to leave. That's your weapon against unlawful, prolonged detention. Those first two phrases protect you when you refuse consent from the start. But what if you're already in the middle of the situation? What if you felt pressured and already said yes? Maybe the officer's intimidation worked. Maybe you panicked. Now he's going through your vehicle and you're realizing this was a mistake. Here's what most drivers don't know. You still have tactical options even after saying yes. Phrase 3 gives you the power to set boundaries on what they can search. That handles prolonged stops. But what if you already said yes? Maybe you felt pressured. Maybe you didn't know you could refuse. Now the officer's going through your vehicle. Here's critical intel. You still have tactical options. Phrase 3 is about limiting the scope of consent. Even if you initially agreed, you can set clear boundaries on what areas can be searched. Most drivers don't know this right exists. They think once they say yes, the officer can search absolutely everything. That's false. Here's the consent trap. Officer asks, "Can I search your vehicle?" You respond with, "I guess so," or "sure," or "okay." That vague general consent becomes unlimited in court. The officer can now search everywhere: the passenger compartment, the trunk, the glove box, closed containers, bags, suitcases, everything. Because you didn't set any limits, courts interpret your vague yes as authorization to search everywhere. But the law explicitly allows you to be specific. You can say, "You can look in the back seat, but not the trunk." You can say, "You can search the passenger compartment, but not any closed containers or bags." You can say, "You can look in the main cabin, but not under the hood." Whatever boundaries you set must be legally respected. The scope of the search cannot exceed the scope of your consent. Period. Here's what tactical consent limitation sounds like in real time during an actual encounter. Officer says, "Mind if I take a look?" Instead of just saying, "Okay," you respond, "Officer, you can check the passenger area, but I am not consenting to searches of the trunk or any bags or containers." He might immediately push back. "Well, what are you hiding in there?" That's manipulation. Your tactical response, I'm not hiding anything, officer. I'm exercising my legal right to limit the scope of consent. You can search the areas I specified. That's it. Strategic advantage here is that this phrase creates a clear, documented boundary. If the officer searches areas you specifically didn't authorize, that becomes an illegal search. Evidence found in those unauthorized areas can be suppressed by your attorney. The tactical key is being specific and unambiguous. Don't be vague. Don't use phrases like "I guess" or "if you really need to" or "whatever you think is necessary." Those get interpreted by courts as unlimited consent. State the exact areas you're authorizing, if you choose to authorize any at all. And here's a critical tactical point many drivers miss. You can limit consent even mid-search. Let's say you gave general consent. The officer's searching, but now he's opening areas you didn't intend to authorize. You can stop it right there. "Officer, I didn't consent to that specific area. Please stop searching there." If you do consent, set crystal clear boundaries on exactly where officers can and cannot search. Be specific, be firm, protect your rights by limiting scope. Here's the most powerful move drivers never know exists. You can withdraw consent entirely even after the search has started. Phrase 4. I am withdrawing my consent to this search. This ends the search immediately. If you deploy it correctly, you consented to a search. Maybe you felt pressured. Now he's been searching 12 minutes, pulling apart your vehicle, getting more aggressive. You realize this was a serious mistake. Most people think it's too late. They believe once they said yes, they're stuck until the search is complete. That's absolutely false. Under established case law, you have the legal right to revoke consent at any time before evidence is discovered. But here's the critical requirement. The withdrawal must be clear and unambiguous. No room for misinterpretation. Here's where drivers make fatal tactical errors. They say things like, "This is taking way too long," or "I really need to get going now," or "Are you almost done?" Courts have specifically ruled those vague statements do not constitute withdrawal of consent. They're just complaints. They're ambiguous. For withdrawal to be legally effective, you must use clear, explicit language that no reasonable person could possibly misinterpret. The tactical phrase is this. Look directly at the officer and state firmly, "Officer, I am withdrawing my consent to this search." Stop immediately. Don't soften it. Don't ask. State it as fact. If the officer stops, the search is over. If he continues searching, anything he finds after your clear withdrawal can potentially be suppressed as evidence from an illegal search. But there's a critical timing issue you must understand. You cannot withdraw consent after incriminating evidence has already been found and observed. Let's say the officer discovers drugs in your vehicle. At that point, saying, "I withdraw consent" accomplishes nothing. The evidence is already in plain view. It's admissible. The tactical window for withdrawal is before they find anything that incriminates you. The earlier you withdraw, the stronger your legal position becomes. Officers react to withdrawal in 3 predictable ways. Some stop immediately and let you go. Some claim they now have probable cause based on your suspicious behavior. Others flat out ignore the withdrawal and keep searching anyway. If they ignore your clear withdrawal, that's an illegal search. You've explicitly revoked consent. Any evidence found after that point is tainted fruit from an unconstitutional search. Withdrawal must be unambiguous. Courts rejected withdrawals where people acted irritated or made vague statements. Be direct. "I am withdrawing consent." Stop searching immediately. Those words are recorded on body cameras. That recording protects you. You can withdraw consent anytime before evidence is found, but you must be absolutely crystal clear. Say it explicitly. Now let's cover officer counter tactics. They're trained for drivers who know their rights. When you say, "I do not consent," expect, "If you've got nothing to hide, why not let me look?" That's psychological manipulation. Your response, "Officer, I'm exercising my constitutional rights. I do not consent." Another tactic. This'll go easier if you cooperate. Implied threat. But if they had grounds, they'd search without asking. They need your permission. Officers use authority cues. Standing close, hand near holster, stern tone, intimidation tactics. Stay calm. "I understand you're doing your job, but I do not consent." Some claim refusal creates suspicion. "Now I'm wondering what you're hiding." That's a bluff. United States versus Fuentes ruled refusal alone doesn't create suspicion. Your response, I'm exercising my rights. My refusal is not legal grounds. Then ask, am I free to leave? Keep your composure. Officers want you emotional and defensive. Stay tactical. Repeat as needed. Deploy them with calm precision. Critical distinction, request versus order. Can I search? Is a request. Decline. Step out is an order. Comply. Officers blur this deliberately. So ask, are you ordering or requesting? If requesting, decline. I do not consent. If ordering, comply but protect rights. Ask, what is the lawful basis? That creates a record. While complying, state, I'm complying under your order. I'm not consenting. This documents compliance wasn't voluntary. Real scenario. Open your trunk. You say ordering or requesting. He says ordering. You say lawful basis. He gives a reason. Then comply. Complying under your order. I do not consent. Always clarify. If request, decline. If order, comply but document non-consent. Physical protocol for first 60 seconds. See lights signal to well-lit location. Engine off. Keys on dashboard. If dark, dome light on. Hands at 10 and 2, visible. Don't reach until officer arrives. Critical, don't roll window all the way. Crack 2 to 3 inches, just enough for documents. Open window gives plain view access. They see and smell everything. Cracked window limits exposure. When officer approaches, for our safety, vehicles secured and hands visible. I'll pass documents through the window. Hand license, registration, insurance through that gap. Keep doors locked, controlling access. If asked to roll window further, I'm comfortable communicating like this. If ordered, clarify, ordering me? If yes, comply, complying under your order. If recording, announce. For everyone's safety, I'm recording. Phone visible, no sudden movements. Your recording plus theirs equals accountability. Field rule, you have 4 weapons. First, I do not consent to any searches. Second, am I free to leave? Third, limit scope if you consent. Fourth, I am withdrawing my consent. Deploy with calm precision. Don't mumble. Don't soften. Don't apologize. State firmly. The 4 counter moves. 1. I do not consent to any searches. 2. Am I free to leave? 3. I'm limiting consent to this area only. 4. I am withdrawing consent. Say those 3 times each. Drill them until automatic. Record yourself. Sound confident, not aggressive. Screenshot these phrases. Keep them accessible. State laws vary. Colorado and Maryland, marijuana smell doesn't justify search. Texas and Ohio, it does. But these core phrases work everywhere. Federal protections apply in all 50 states. Stay calm, tactical, controlled. Cameras document everything. Your recording plus theirs equals accountability. Violate your refusal. Video is proof. This is tactical education, not legal advice. Consult an attorney. If this helped, hit like. Subscribe for weekly tactical intelligence. Share with everyone. Friends, family, everyone who drives needs these phrases. Knowledge is power when you spread it. There's more tactical intelligence you need. Next video gives counter moves for other scenarios. It's on screen. Watch while training is fresh. Control the interaction. Control the outcome. You have training. Use it.